Welcome back to another election edition of Meet Victoria with Caleb Shaw, powered by ThriveFuel Digital Marketing. Guys, do not forget, early voting is February 14th through the 25th, and Election Day is March 1st. On that note, we are joined here by an incumbent. And so, without further ado, for those that don't know you, my friend, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and what office you're the incumbent for.
Absolutely. First, thanks for having me, Caleb.
Yes, sir.
It's a great program.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. County Commissioner Clint Ives took office in January of 2011 and have held that position currently. My wife and I have 3 boys born and raised in Victoria County. They attend Industrial School District. Got 1 in elementary and 2 in junior high. It's an adventure every day.
I can imagine. How long have you been in office?
I am in my 3rd term.
Gotcha. So kind of a twofold question here. What made you originally want to toss your hat in the ring? And now after knowing what you're in for, why do you want to continue?
So I was 29 years old in late 2008. And in a moment of weakness, got my name on the ballot and had really, I didn't have any idea on what a county commissioner truly does on a day-to-day. My family was born and raised in the rural parts of Victoria County. We still currently live over 20 miles from town. You talk about internet being slow, our electricity's slow. We're out there.
Yes, sir.
And so my focus was county roads back then. We were as far out as we were. The county roads were in poor condition, and that was my primary focus. What I quickly learned was there's a lot more to the position. Our precinct role as county commissioners, I always say we have 2 hats. We've got our precinct hat, which is a hard hat, and our business hat is in the courthouse. The role of a county commissioner in the precinct is easily 25 to 30%. The bulk of what we do comes out of that courthouse.
Okay.
And you have to balance those two because you have rural taxpayers and you have urban taxpayers, and their needs and their expectations are different. So starting January 2011, we aggressively looked at some of these obsolete roads and brought them up to modern standards from a county perspective. That's not to say that they're brought up to city standards. There's a huge difference between a county road and a city road.
And if I could just interject real quick, which ones as the county are you guys responsible for versus the city? Because I've seen some, these taxes are collected, but they're only going to this and not to help the city.
That's right.
Which roads are you guys responsible for?
Well, a key piece of information to go along with that conversation is that Road and Bridge, which is a budget term for a precinct's budget.
Yes, sir.
It's termed the Road and Bridge Fund. The Victoria County taxpayers voted in, they approved a road and bridge tax decades ago. 30s and 40s, maybe as late as the 50s, but I believe it was World War II era. A road and bridge tax. That road and bridge tax is currently 0.063. And on your tax bill, in an average home, let's say a $200,000 home, you may pay road and bridge $100, $80 to $100.
For the year?
For the year.
Okay.
That's split 4 ways. So that one small tax is split 4 ways between 4 precincts. And that fund is legally separate from the general fund, which funds our maintenance and operations and our departments within the courthouse. So we take that funding, and on average, here lately in the past 3 or 4 years, my budget washes out to be 1.4, 1.5 million out of 25% of that 063 tax. Immediately, 60+% comes out of that with overhead. That's my payroll, that's the benefits for my precinct crew, that's insurance, fuel, equipment, just general overhead. At the end of the day, I've got about $500,000 to spend on 168 miles of county roads within my precinct. That doesn't go very far.
That seems like that would run out
that
very
does
quickly.
Not go far at all. But we get creative. We don't immediately touch the taxpayer. In fact, that is our dead last option. Victoria County has approached governance in a conservative mindset from day one. For decades, Victoria County has been governed from a conservative mindset. And so we don't touch you guys. That's not our immediate knee-jerk reaction. From the precinct standpoint, the 4 commissioners, we diligently look for partnerships and relationships that we can build with TxDOT, with the feds. We look for outside funding. We look for surplus material that's maybe left over from a TxDOT contract or something to that effect. At the end of the day, at the end of the year, I should say, we can accomplish 8 to 10 miles of new pavement on average with that initial $500,000 in our construction budget, along with some grant funding through TxDOT, some federal programs and stuff like that. Now, to your original question, what's the difference? On average, if we would go into Salem Road, which is one of my busiest roads within the precinct, at least the first 3 or 4 miles of Salem, I'm gonna have 4 to 5 inches of red gravel underneath that thing with a single shot of asphalt on top. And 1.5 miles of that is gonna run me about $70,000 to $80,000. Put that in comparison to a city road, their standards and their specs. On average, a city street, a major city street, if it's not being built to their concrete standards, because the city is slowly getting into more and more concrete streets, which the longevity on that is phenomenal.
Okay, good.
They're $1 million a mile. So
yeah, that's just hard to process.
We can't even compete. And so the idea of a precinct budget or some of that road and bridge going towards city projects, it's not achievable. I'm taking $500,000 and squeezing every bit of juice out of that lime as I possibly can, along with partnerships and outside funding, in order to achieve that 8 to 10 miles of new pavement that we do. If I'm expected to give 20% of that, I'm shorting my rural taxpayers.
And that's not something the city is expecting, because y'all have worked this out to where y'all are kind of covering your deal and they're
That's right. That's right. And that model was established. No, to answer your question, the city council is not expecting that. These are just some conversations that come up from folks that do dive into budgets and taxation, that, where this road and bridge tax is being applied to city residents, but they're not getting any bang for the buck. The bulk of it's coming from the city versus outside of the city. And that's just the structure that we operate under. The same would apply to school taxes, but by the parents that have kids that go to private schools. The system is available to you. If you choose not to drive on a county road or a farm to market road, that's just your lifestyle and your business. But the roads are there for you. And pair that with the exponential growth that we're seeing in our rural parts, funding is on the forefront of our minds at all times.
Gotcha.
I've seen an increase of nearly 3,000 headcount in my precinct since the 2010 census. That's significant growth for a precinct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm going to switch topics up on you a little bit, and I know that this job has a lot of ups, it has a lot of downs. There's learning curves, all this stuff. Harvey was a big one that all of us, I know inside my household, there was things that we were prepared for, there was things that we weren't. And we had to look back afterwards, and we had to go in and plug the dam on. I was very proud of myself in some areas, how I took care of my home, and then there was other areas where I just had to go apologize to my wife, like, hey, I screwed this up. Like, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, but we do now, And so, first off, regarding Harvey, what lessons, well, let me ask you this, what did you get right with it? And then what lessons have you learned from it?
Yeah, I'm glad you structured it that way, because I was going to answer it that way. Let's talk about what we did right,
yes, sir.
And then we'll talk about some things that we learned, because we're always learning. We're just guys that govern with a common sense model and keep it conservative.
Yes, sir.
But there's always things to be learned and things to be tweaked.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I'm most proud of is my road and bridge guys, paired with the county's debris management contract that was immediately triggered as soon as Harvey made landfall. Debris management is a governmental term for the crews that come in with the large trucks, and we remove the trees, the limbs, the debris, the shingles, you name it. It was about a 6-month process. We wrapped up shortly into the new year of 2018. Harvey hit August of 17. By January, February of 18, we had successfully initiated a debris management program. That was served to Victoria through a contractor called Ashbrit. This is all these guys do. They're a nationwide contractor. All they do is follow storms, and they're there for cleanup. We had a contract with them in advance. It's a pre-bid contract that's renewed, I believe, every 4 years. We put it out the debris management company's bid on it. So it's pre-bid. All you've got to do is activate it.
Yes, sir.
We were very fortunate to have that in place because within 48 hours of Harvey making landfall, these guys are here with their equipment. The technology that comes with is these trucks are GPS monitored. We hired an engineer to be our debris management coordinator, and that individual coordinated these trucks. Our road and bridge staff in all 4 precincts communicated back to a central location, which was the coordinator. We've got an excess over here, we've got this, we got that. That individual, or the coordinator, organizes that and puts it out to the trucks. She can monitor them on a screen because they're GPS coordinated. It ran flawlessly. And in 6 months or less, our debris management process had completely cleaned up Victoria County, from tree limbs to shingles to lumber to building supplies. There was even a 30-day window for e-waste, freezers, TVs, computers, whatever property was damaged or destroyed and needed to be hauled off. You as a homeowner, if you could get that to the county right away, because one thing we could not do is come into your property, but anything you could get to the roadway, we picked up. I forget the number, but it was an astronomical amount of thousands of tons of debris that was managed flawlessly. It is something to be proud of.
Outstanding.
Now switching to what did we learn? The one thing that we didn't expect, and that I didn't expect, is the significant damage to our county buildings. This was the strongest storm that we had seen since Carla. A lot of people go back to Claudette. Claudette was a punk compared to Harvey and Carla. Carla is from the 50s is the benchmark in Victoria. Everybody that's native to Victoria remembers Carla. Carla was bad. This was the worst storm since Carla. What we suffered was a lot of our buildings and their age. And a weather event like we saw with Harvey on aged buildings was a huge impact to us. We had 72 buildings that were damaged. And that unforeseen damage to our buildings, it shut down a bulk of our departments, it shut down staff. It's an area of post-storm that really hadn't had a lot of focus. Our emergency management team and a lot of the preparations and the policies, they're on point, much like the debris management contract, stuff like that. It's planned out, it's thought over, everything is structured. This is going to happen now. We couldn't predict the amount of damage that we saw in our buildings. What worked following Harvey, and it took a couple months to get there, was a small group of staff that was collected that worked for about 6 to 7 months to work with our insurance company and to work with our contractor in order to bring these buildings back up as quickly as possible. What I took away from that experience was, let's put a policy in place, and these policies have been drafted now. Let's initiate that group on the front end like we did the debris management contract. Let it be a piece of emergency management so that these guys are on point and focused on this, on the rebuild of our governmental buildings while the storm is making landfall.
Yes, sir.
Then we won't have that lag time.
Gotcha.
Because it was efficient and it was a very good process. We were late getting them there.
Well, in my next question, I don't leave you a ton of time to answer it, so just kind of surface level, critics regarding Harvey, they point to the funds as mismanaged and a lack of transparency. I'd just like to offer you an opportunity to just address that directly.
Oh, sure. Just to be clear, there is not a single penny of Harvey insurance money missing. Be it FEMA, be it insurance, there is not a single penny. The funds have been audited internally multiple times by our auditing staff. There is also an independent audit that we go through annually where the entire books for Victoria County is audited from an outside firm. What we did not do, and some of our critics were encouraging us to do this, is to sit down and fund a forensic audit. We chose not to do that. Number one, the cost. Extraordinary cost when you get into forensic auditing. It could touch $1 million, $500,000 to $1 million just to get started. It's an extraordinary cost. That's an option that you choose whenever you do have, okay, something's not adding up here. There is some discrepancies with payments to invoices and this and that. let's take a step back and let's get a team in here to look at this. We didn't have that.
Yes, sir.
So the work group that was spearheaded by Commissioner Yannick over the course of 6 or 7 months, they never found any discrepancies.
Not enough to warrant
No,
this forensic.
our auditing staff did not find a single discrepancy.
Which that is it public that they can find the results of that audit?
Everything's published on the website. Every document regarding Hurricane Harvey, from the insurance claim to the adjustment of a building to the payment to Victoria County, the roof, the shingle, the windows, whatever it may be, a change order, an email. It has been on the county website, published in a file, I would say since spring of 2018.
Gotcha.
It is a beast of a file. And again, we suffer criticism of that. Well, that's not transparency because the file is over 800 pages. That's a 72 building damage report on an insurance claim. It's going to be huge. You're in real estate. Could you imagine what your insurance claim and
I don't want to see that report.
The paperwork.
I don't even want to open that thing, to be honest.
If 70,
that's terrible.
72 of your homes were damaged, it's going to be.
Yeah, yes, sir. Well, one home inspection report is a lot. I forgive me cutting you off here. We're already over time, but I do just one thing I want to hit that I'm going to leave you basically no time except for a yes or no answer for, but animal control. Animal control is has been kind of a sore spot. Everybody, whatever.
That's right.
Without being able to get into any of the facts, can we just count on you to let's fix this thing? Like, let's get it going. Can we count on your help to? And I know that you guys are working towards things, and it's kind of an unfair deal, but basically. Will you help us get this animal control thing fixed?
Absolutely.
Roger that. And I'm sorry that I don't have more time to elaborate.
We rely on the relationships with our nonprofits.
Yes, sir.
And that is the key.
Yes, sir.
We've got to build those bridges.
Roger that. Forgive me rushing the end of this interview. We are over time. For those that want to follow your campaign, reach out to you, have questions for you, how can they do so, sir?
Absolutely. Cell phone number 361-649-2068. I've got a political page that's been up for years, daily work reports from the precinct. We've got a lot of daily outreach paired with campaign material. Check us out on social media or give me a shout. Good
deal. Thank you so much for your time. Again, I tell all the candidates, but I respect the fact that you guys do this. I have less than zero desire to do all this, so I'm thankful for the ones that do, because it's much easier to sit out here and critique you guys and just try to hold you accountable than it is to run for it. So thank you for doing so. I appreciate you. Guys, one more time, early voting is February 14th through the 25th. Election day is March 1st, and we'll see you at the next one.